Hello, I'm Mike Rosebone. I'm product manager here at PPI. In today's video, we're going to go through the process of measuring up an idler roll to ensure that we get proper data for your PPI Retro Roll. At PPI, we provide an assortment of retro data sheets to help prompt you for the necessary info. These sheets can all be found on our website under the Resources tab by clicking the Forms link. And with that, let's get to measuring. First step we do is determine what type of roll we're dealing with. Is it a plastic roll, is it a steel roll, or is it a rubber disc roll? If it's a rubber disc roll, we need to know a little bit more about it. Is it a troughing roll, is it a rubber disc return roll, or is it a flat carrier roll? Based on where it's located in the conveyor system is going to determine how those discs are actually spaced on the roll. This roll today, we're dealing with a steel roll. Next step is we need to determine what style of shaft end we're dealing with. Our retro data sheets provide all the most commonly found shaft end details that are found in the industry today. This particular roll happens to be a Type E shaft end, which is a hex nut adapter style. Now that I've identified that we're dealing with a steel roll, a Type E adapter nut style, let's fill out the data sheet. First off, I'm going to look at the roll diameter. I'm going to pull the roll diameter by just taking my tape measure. I'm just going to pull from one edge of the roll to the opposite end. The diameter of the roll, this particular roll happens to be 5-inch diameter. Next, we're looking at the roll length itself. This is a real easy one to get. We're just pulling the tape measure and we're going from one edge of the roll to the opposite edge of the roll. 9 inches is what this roll is measuring at. Another dimension that we're looking for is the shaft length. Shaft length, the overall shaft length, you're probably going to need a couple straight edges to pull this dimension. What we're looking at here is setting up the inside edges. We're going to pull our tape measure and we're just going to go from the inside of this square to the inside of this opposite end. This roll or shaft length happens to be 10 5/16 long. Next dimension is the shaft extension. We're going to use the same square. We're just going from the shaft end to the edge of the roll, 5/8 inches. The next dimension, which is the most critical dimension that we can get when we're filling out this data sheet, is the end dimension, or the gauge length as we call it here at PPI. The gauge length is the distance between the inside shoulders, so the insides of this adapter nut, to the inside of the opposite end. And we're going to pull from inside edge to inside edge. This particular gauge length is 9 1/4 inches long. Moving on to the shaft diameter detail now. We'll pull the shaft diameter detail. Because this is an adapter nut style, we're going to basically look at the internal threaded shaft diameter here. We take our calipers and we're going to get on the end of this shaft, or the threaded portion of the shaft here, and we're coming up with 0.71 inches. On your data sheet, it's going to ask for an AA dimension or shaft diameter. Because this can's all complete yet, we're not going to cut it apart. We're not going to get that internal AA dimension. With our external shaft there, where we've pulled up 0.714, we've got enough detail where we can pretty much size the shaft and bearing from there. So moving on to the adapter nut dimensions here. So we're going to really focus in on the adapter nut and get a lot of those critical dimensions. First one that we're going to pull is the B dimension. So the B dimension, which is the width of the internal hex on the adapter nut here. So we're just going to take our calipers and we're going to get on the inside of that adapter nut. And this one happens to measure 1.06. The next dimension that we're going to pull is the C dimension, or the nut width. This is basically the dimension that is from the inside shoulder of your adapter nut to the external shoulder of your adapter nut. Basically the space for that bracket or your frame for your roll to slide in there. So we're going to take our calipers and we're just going to get it as close as we can, and we're going to come up with, on this particular one, 0.305. Next is our D dimension, which is the shoulder width of the nut itself. We do that again with our calipers, and we're going to take that and we're just going to get on the edge of the adapter nut here. This one happens to be 0.208. And then the last dimension that we need for your adapter nut is the E dimension, or the nut width itself. And this is just the overall width of your adapter nut here. We take that with our calipers again and just measure the overall outside dimension of your nut. And this one happens to be 1.25 or 1 1/4 inches. At this point, we've filled out our data sheet. We're going to double check our dimensions. We're ready to send it in to your PPI representative to get a quote. At PPI, we understand that these retro rolls may be the stepping stones to larger opportunities. We take pride in our ability to quickly and accurately provide rolls for your unique applications. For more information, visit our website or contact your local sales representative.